Hey everyone, Mitch the Preacher here preaching the gospel of gaming. Amazon Game Studios just dropped a ton of new gameplay footage for their MMO New World. I'm really excited about this upcoming title, I hope you are too. Let's take a look at some of this footage and chat about it. So just to bring you up to speed if you haven't watched my previous video on what the heck New World is, it is an MMO developed by Amazon Game Studios that takes place in kind of an age of exploration. Now what I think will separate New World from other games of similar genre is its real-time Dark Souls inspired combat. It isn't about clicking on a target and mashing hotkeys, but rather being strategic with your movement. You have to time your rolls, you have to time your dodges, it's all very tactical. So as we're watching through this footage, we can see a hatchet, sword, shield, got a flintlock pistol, huge hammer, and you'll notice that he's wearing a spear on his back as well, and a tremendous little spell effect there, almost like an earthquake. What's really neat here is you notice that for a moment he misses with the hatchet and it almost digs itself into the ground, and there's an animation where he has to remove it. I really like this attention to detail and I hope that it shows up in every facet of combat. Based on this footage, I think it's going to be really difficult to be an archer, as it appears to require a very high level of accuracy to receive the damage bonuses for headshots and things like that. I also have to say it, as someone who doesn't normally use two-handed hammers, this weapon looks like a ton of fun with its whack-a-mole madness. I've played games in a similar era and I've always really gravitated towards the black powder weapons, the flintlock pistols, the muskets, the things like that, and it appears as though they do those kind of weapons justice. We're seeing a little bit of footage here that actually shows the UI and how you have special abilities that are associated with the weapons that you currently have equipped. Also really cool to see how creative you have to be when you encounter enemies that have shields, especially in group play, using one player to basically distract or have the shield directed toward that player while you flank from the side, and more whack-a-mole! Once again, the two-handed axe and hammer look so freaking cool. And this guy brought a foil to an axe fight. Now I know a lot of players have a hard time wrapping their head around the concept of a classless MMO, and that is what New World is ultimately presenting itself as. But what we see here is as we use a particular weapon, we gain in the mastery of that particular weapon, and the New World devs have explained that their class system is kind of baked into the weapons that you use, and that each of these weapons has their own fleshed out skill tree, and as you use that weapon, you gain points that you can then spend in that appropriate skill tree for that weapon. So in a way you can spec as a tank, as a healer, as a damage doer in that traditional sense, but it isn't so much as your class that you're making that choice, but rather as the weapons that you're using in combat. And I think that that's a really cool approach. And the final thing I want to talk about is PvP, player versus player combat. So we're seeing a kind of a traditional duel here, 1v1, and what this devs wanted to stress is that a level 60 player, as an example, can be taken down by a level 50 player. It's not entirely based on how you've spent your skill points, but really how you approach the combat situation, how you are tactical and smart with your movement, how you dodge, how you roll, how you use your environment to your advantage. I'm hoping that a lot of us are going to be able to jump into open beta soon here, and that we really get to see this combat in action, how the swords work, how the shields work, the spells, the ranged combat, how it all comes together to create a unique experience. New World releases on Steam May 2020. What kind of weapons did you really like seeing in this gameplay footage? Leave a comment below. I do appreciate the likes and shares for future content. Take care.